All right, all right. What's up, Raider Nation? Welcome to TRU Raider Podcast. I'm your host, TRU Raider. It's been a minute since I got live with you guys. My wife and I celebrated our anniversary, and then I put out a couple of just short videos over the week. But man, I've been really wanting to get in here and talk with the nation, man. I'm getting pretty excited about what's happening right now with our off season and what this looks like. Um, we've been just kind of putting things together in a way that's honestly looking like Raider Nation is finally getting their shit together. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know any other way to word it. So that's what's up, man. Raider Ryan, salute. What's good, man? Good to see you, man. AD and AZ, cheers, nation. What's up? What's up? Anthony, what's good, bro? Good to see you, man. Don Julio just joined. So, real quick, man, I want to start off with an article, and it's going to look kind of like it's not really related, but it is, right? So we're just going to go ahead and get with that, and we'll see how this whole thing rolls out. So this is actually about Vikings JJ McCarthy. Ooh, I'm sharing the wrong screen, man. Messing up already, bro. It's too early for all that. There we go. All right. So this is Vikings JJ McCarthy has resumed on-field training amid knee injury rehab. And you'll see why I'm reading this. But Minnesota Vikings head coach Kevin O'Connell confirmed Thursday rookie quarterback JJ McCarthy has resumed on-field training. McCarthy missed the entire 2024 NFL season because of a torn right meniscus. O'Connell said his recovery is generally progressing as expected at this stage. And then this is a tweet from Ben Gosling. Kevin O'Connell said JJ McCarthy has returned to on-field training and is in position to be right where we hoped he would be at this point. O'Connell, I think he's maximized what this year was for him. I think he's got a level of comfort in our offensive system. So, what the Vikings do at the quarterback position in 2025 has become a more intriguing question given how Sam Darnold finished out the year. Minnesota had the chance to clinch the NFC North title and the number one seed in the conference in week 18 against the Detroit Lions, but the team suffered a 31-9 loss at the hands of the Detroit Lions, which Darnold finishing 18 of 41 with 166 passing yards. Things didn't get much better in the playoffs. Darnold was sacked 9 times to tie a postseason record, and he threw for 245 yards, 1 touchdown, and 1 interception in a 27-9 defeat to the Los Angeles Rams. It called to mind his infamous quote about seeing ghosts in a 2019 game with the New York Jets. Heading into week 18, you would have bet Darnold's return to Minneapolis was more likely than not, applying the franchise tag, which is worth an estimated $41.3 million in his case. Would have been a way to solidify the QB situation without jeopardizing any potential handover to McCarthy down the road. Now, O'Connell and general manager Quasi Adolfo Mensa might be wondering how much of Darnold's Pro Bowl season was reflective of his value moving forward. It wouldn't be a complete shock to see the Vikings move on entirely. If that were to happen, then it would have major implications for McCarthy. Even in the event Minnesota added a more experienced veteran to the quarterback room, many would view McCarthy as the starter in waiting regardless of whether he wins the job for week 1 or not. That's why it's imperative for his recovery to continue in the way it apparently has. See, and like many of you guys that have been around for a while know that, anytime somebody brings up Sam Darnold, I shoot it down immediately and I say, what's going to happen with JJ McCarthy is he's going to be like Jordan Love and he's going to sit behind Sam Darnold for at least another year or two. And his knee injury and all this stuff. And it's looking like his knee injury is starting to be on the mend, right? And since his knee injury is going in the right direction, I think I think that there's a possibility that the Vikings decide not to pay Sam Darnold, and that's a really high possibility. Raider Ryan saying, I'll take Sam Darnold. And then Chris Raider says, I will take neither. That's what's up, man. So, let's see what Luke Fisher was good, man. Aiden is similar to Nick Foles. Roll with Aiden as bridge and draft a guy. He can be good in a Chip Kelly offense. And I think that he can. I don't think that he has the proper mobility for a Chip Kelly offense that we would really ideally want. But I think that in a worst case scenario where we're not able to really put a better piece in place at the quarterback position, I do believe that Aiden would play ton better in Chip Kelly offense than he would in any of the previous 4 offensive coordinators that he's had over 2 years, right? So I do believe that that would be all right, man. So I'm going to go ahead and pull up this next article because this is what really got me turning, right? Let me see. There we go. So this is PFT, right? Kevin O'Connell, Sam Darnold has earned the right to be a free agent. We'll keep talking. So Vikings coach Kevin O'Connell has offered a hint that his team will let quarterback Sam Darnold test free agency rather than franchise tag him. Shortly after winning the NFL's Coach of the Year award, O'Connell told reporters that Darnold, who played for the Vikings on a 1-year contract last season, has earned the right to be a free agent. Look, you guys know how I feel about Sam, O'Connell said via ESPN. He is a guy that we identified last year, somebody who could come in and be successful. And really, no matter where he was at before he arrived in this quarterback journey, it was about maximizing our time together. And I think we did that. And I think it was a very special year for Sam. And what that earned him is everybody in our league now thinks he's a bona fide, legitimate starting quarterback and can win a lot of football games. He won 14 of them in 2024. So he's earned the right to be a free agent, but we will continue to have ongoing dialogue and discussions with him and his representation. If the Vikings wanted to prevent Darnold from leaving in free agency, they could put a franchise tag on him. But the franchise tag comes with a guaranteed salary that is expected to be a little over $40 million for quarterbacks in 2025. And the Vikings may simply think Darnold isn't worth that much. Given that the Vikings spent a first-round pick on J.J. McCarthy last year, they may also just think it's time to move on to their quarterback of the future. Darnold played better than most people expected for the Vikings, but back-to-back rough games and losses in the regular season finale and the wild card playoffs may have led the Vikings to conclude that Darnold has already taken them as far as he can take them, that McCarthy is the quarterback who can take them even further, and that Darnold will be playing elsewhere in 2025. So that really got my gears turning, man. That really got me, because I've been all right. So I was watching another content creator yesterday, right? While I was at work, I'm working, I'm listening to this other dude, and somebody brought up Sam Darnold, right? And he was like, "No, I don't want a Sam Darnold." Da 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 da. And then the very next comment that he brought on the screen was somebody saying Justin Fields, and he said, "Yes, I would take a Justin Fields." And that really got me turning, right? Because I've been saying that we should have got Justin Fields since last year, right? Before Justin Fields went to the Steelers, I was like, we need to pick this dude up, kick the tires on Justin Fields, see what's going on there, right? But because we had Luke Getsy, we didn't have that option at all. And so this really got me thinking, right? Because if you look at the stat line, Sam Darnold threw for 4,300 yards, 35 touchdowns to 12 interceptions. Justin Fields, I know he only played like 5 games, but he only threw 5 touchdowns. 5 touchdowns. He had 5 touchdowns to 1 interception. So it's like, what are we talking about here? Why is it that Justin Fields is like viewed as this like great bridge quarterback when okay, I do like Justin Fields, right? And if they announced tomorrow, right, that oh, Raiders have worked out a deal with Justin Fields and he's going to come over here, I'd be like, you know what? He's probably going to do pretty well in a Chip Kelly offense, right? A lot of RPOs, a lot of you know, quarterback runs, things like that. Like, okay, I could see that. But if it just wouldn't make sense, right? If Sam Darnold is actually going to be available, why would we not go that route, right? And I'm not saying that I'm completely sold on Sam Darnold, right? Sam Darnold could have had just one great year with the Vikings and then go back to old Sam Darnold, right? So I'm not saying I'm completely convinced, but what I'm saying is that if that's an option, I don't know, man. That might be the best option moving forward, right? Because if we look at veteran quarterbacks, right? Let's go ahead and talk veteran quarterbacks right now. There was a report that just came out. Oh, what the heck is his name, man? It was during the media row stuff over there in New Orleans. And basically, what got said was that Russell Wilson is off the table, right? But this same guy said that, Russell Wilson to the Raiders was like definitely not happening. Also said that Russell Wilson's not going to go back to the Steelers. So I don't know what that looks like for Russell Wilson. Ever since the rumor started, as soon as we hired Pete Carroll, they're like, oh, Russell Wilson's going to come to the Raiders. And I'm like, I wouldn't be mad, but like they've already done that, right? Pete Carroll and Russell Wilson already did that. Russell Wilson was trying to get Pete Carroll fired, and then the ownership over there decided that they were going to keep Pete Carroll and move on from Russell Wilson. So I don't like, yes, they've mended fences and whatever, but I don't see that being even a possibility at all, man. Um, it's like why would you want to bring in something that you've already done that yes, they won a Super Bowl together, but then it was starting to show that it really, really wasn't work, right? Okay, Tacos Please says no. Sam was lucky with that system and that top tier wide receiver. Yeah, but see, if he came over here, Chip Kelly has an amazing offense, right? He does. He's a great offensive mind, and you pair that with the likes of a Jacoby Myers and a Brock Bowers. Sam Darnold could definitely run this offensive well as long as we went ahead and cleaned up our running back game because you know I really believe that a lot of the success of whatever quarterback we bring in is also going to be dependent on whatever running back we put in place. Let me see. Who are we talking about, Raider Ryan? Serious accuracy issues. How is the rookie going to learn from him? They would both be learning at that point. Oh, we're talking about Justin Fields. And that's exactly it, right? Justin Fields is not somebody who can mentor a rookie. So, I mean, let's go ahead and continue with our veteran quarterbacks, right? Is that we have right now we have Gardner Minshew and Aiden O'Connell on the roster. I believe that Gardner Minshew is going to be a post June 1st cut. I do not believe that they're going to want to roll forward with Gardner Minshew. It makes no sense, not even to keep him as a backup, because Aiden O'Connell is at least comparable to Gardner Minshew, right? Honestly, I think Aiden O'Connell is better, but the thing that's really better about Aiden O'Connell is that he's cheap. He's on a rookie contract. He was a 4th-round pick. He's really, really cheap, and he's a great backup quarterback, right? He's an amazing backup quarterback. Like you can't be mad if like you have a legitimate starting quarterback, that guy gets injured, Aiden O'Connell comes in, and it's like, well, yeah, Aiden O'Connell has shown that he can win some games. He's shown that he can do pretty good, right? So keeping Aiden O'Connell is ideal. And then Russell Wilson's off the table. Justin Fields is a possibility, but I find it hard to believe that the Steelers are going to move on from both Justin Fields and Russell Wilson unless they're planning to get Sam Darnold or Kirk Cousins, right? Which brings up Kirk Cousins. And Kirk Cousins, he came out and said that he was playing with a couple of injuries. One of them was a shoulder. I forget what the other injury was. And it really kind of makes things make a lot of sense to where Kirk Cousins started off the season on fire, right, with the Falcons, and he looked great. And then about mid-season, he fell off a cliff, man. It just like went like bad, bad, bad. And so if he was playing on an injury, it would make a lot of sense. Now, I personally don't want to get Kirk Cousins because Kirk Cousins, wherever he goes, somehow he gets the bag, man. That dude ends up, with 100 million guaranteed, like on every contract he signs, and I think it's insane, man. I would not want to bring in somebody that's going to cost that much for what he is, man. Raider J, I have a feeling Cousins might retire. And that's a possibility, right? But honestly, if he can get another contract, he's gonna do it. Jesse, I'd take Fields or Dart. So if we look at our rookie quarterbacks, right? The rookie quarterbacks that are coming out in this class, there's Cam Ward, there's Shador Sanders, there's Jackson Dart, there's Jalen Milroe, and Will Howard has to enter the conversation because of the Chip Kelly hire. And if we look at those quarterbacks, Jackson Dart's gaining a lot of steam, right? Jackson Dart is really moving up the ranks, and the more tape I watch on him, the more I like him, right? Not to mention he's just got one of those names that sounds like a NFL quarterback, Jackson Dart. You know what I'm saying? But if you look at the tape, he's he's a good quarterback, right? There's the thing that worries me about him is that he thinks he has more zip on the ball than he does. And so there's times where you'll see him try to fit it in windows that it's just like it's not there. And he's trying to do it anyway. And it's really not working out great. So that kind of worries me, but can I see Jackson Dart being a guy that could come in, sit for a year or two, and then definitely be a starter in this league? Yes. Um, is that Slew Betty or Slow Betty? They need to take Will Howard. Will Howard is also another guy that I could see coming in and sitting for a year or two and really developing into the ability to be an NFL starting quarterback. Now, Will Howard is a little bit more of a worry, but also you could pick up Will Howard in probably the third round. I don't like the idea of going with a third round quarterback as maybe our potential starter of the future. But if we brought in somebody like a Sam Darnold, right, who is, for one, he's what, 28, 29, so he's still young and has the potential to be your franchise guy moving forward. But if he ends up not being that guy, at the very least, a very good mentor to a rookie quarterback that would come in. And if you draft somebody in the third round or something like that, it's a little bit less of a threat, right? Because imagine you're Sam Darnold, right? And you have this 14 win season, you throw for 35 touchdowns and 4,300 yards, and then you hit free agency, you sign a contract. Let's say it's with the Raiders, right? He signs a contract with the Raiders, and then all of a sudden we draft Shador Sanders, right? Say Shador Sanders falls to 6 and we draft Shador Sanders. Then he's like, bro, what? What's going on here? And then all of a sudden you have this weird thing in the locker room, and it just turns into this weird thing. Let me get to some of these comments, man. Okay, AD and AZ, after 5 bad seasons and 1 really good one, I'm still not ready to pull the trigger on Sam Darnold. And if you look at what happened with Sam Darnold was drafted to the Jets, right? And it's the Jets. Like, when was the last time we saw anybody succeed on the Jets? Zach Wilson failed, Aaron Rodgers failed, Sam Darnold failed. Like, it's just there's a trend going on here. And so, okay, he moves on from the Jets and he goes to Carolina. Joe Jabba with the follow salute. Okay. Carolina, they suck. I can't even try to sugarcoat that one. And then he goes over to San Francisco to be a backup. He's on that squad with, I mean, they just had this like weird carousel of starting quarterbacks over there, right? And so it just didn't work out. Like Sam Darnold was never meant to be the starter over there in San Francisco. So he never really had an opportunity over there. But what he did was he had the ability to learn under Kyle Shanahan and be in a quarterback room of competent quarterbacks in the NFL, and then goes over to the Vikings and crushes it, right? And the whole argument with Sam Darnold is that he needs to be in a good offensive system with good targets. Okay. Raiders, Chip Kelly, everybody, all the comments, all the stuff I've seen on social media about the Chip Kelly hires that people are like, oh no, Chip Kelly's a great offensive mind. That's going to be great. Okay. So then you put Sam Darnold in the Chip Kelly system. I don't see him not succeeding there. Right. Um, but then that begs the question, right? Is are we actually even looking for a veteran? It could be that Chip Kelly just wants to start fresh with a rookie quarterback and just go from there. But they've made it very, very clear that the Raiders are in win now mode. Luke Fisher, I just don't want to overpay for a guy that maybe isn't a long-term answer. We really need to find our guy in the draft. I'm okay with Dart and Howard if we miss on Sanders or Ward. Yeah, I'm not going to be upset if draft day that we end up with any of those four guys. If we pull a Jalen Milroe, I'm I don't really like Jalen Milroe. He's a great athlete, but I mean, what he threw 15 touchdowns and 12 interceptions or something like that. Like he's got the smallest hands of what would be any NFL quarterback ever. It just raises a lot of red flags for me. Now, if they did draft him, I would feel like that there was a proper evaluation process, that they really see something that we don't. But I really don't. I don't like the idea of a Jalen Milroe at all. At all. Let me see. Amelia, what's good? I honestly think there's going to be a pipeline, Ohio State and the Raiders, just like the Eagles have done drafting players from the University of Georgia. And I totally agree with that. And really what I would like to see, instead of us focusing on a Will Howard, I would love to see us go out there and get some of the other players from Ohio State, right? That played under Chip Kelly. Because okay, Will Howard, if they go and get him, that means that Chip Kelly and Tom Brady and Spytek and Pete Carroll believe in Will Howard enough to be able to come into the NFL and develop under Chip Kelly's system, right? Okay, cool. They did win the Natty over there, right? But the running backs, that's what I would really love to see. Like, I haven't done a ton of mock drafts, but when I do a couple of mock drafts here and there, um, a lot of what I see is like Judkins and Henderson being available with our 2 third-round picks, right? And I don't ever trust those things to be accurate at all, right? Because there's so many times, man, where like you'll see a person consistently on mock drafts being available in like the 3rd round, and then draft day comes and they go in the 1st round. You know what I'm saying? Like, so I don't really trust those very much. But could you imagine turning those 2 third-round picks that we have into the same running backs that they ran over there at Ohio State? Then you have 2 running backs coming into Chip Kelly's offense that already know the scheme. They already know, and of course they're at the college level, right? But we've seen it time and time again where players come into the pros and they instantly translate. If you look at Bucky Irving, if you look at Brock Bowers, like there's these players that just come in and instantly it's like they didn't even skip a beat. And then you have other players that come in and have to develop and get up to NFL speed and do all that, right? Let me see. AD and AZ. We're not looking for a starting quarterback in free agency. We're looking for a bridge, which is why I wouldn't mind bringing in Gino because we are definitely drafting our quarterback. And Gino could be a decent bridge guy. He could be a decent mentor, things like that. But the problem that I see with Gino is that Gino is not really gonna. He's just gonna make you somewhat competitive. I don't see Geno Smith really doing much better than Aiden O'Connell, right? And we already have Aiden O'Connell. I think that the whole Geno Smith thing is just the connection of, oh, Pete Carroll. And so then everybody starts looking at all those connections down the line and seeing if he's going to bring in players that he's already utilized. And it could be a possibility. It could be. But I don't know, man. I think the big question is what's the Sam Darnold's camp going to be looking for, right? What kind of contract are they really going to be looking to secure for this guy in free agency, right? Because is it a prove it deal? Is he looking for a 4-year deal, right? Like what exactly are they going to be looking for? What's that price tag going to be? Is he looking for a 40 to 50 million dollar deal per year, right? Or is he looking more like a 30 to 40 per year, right? Because if you told me, like, look, we're able to pick up Sam Darnold on a 3-year deal, $30 million a year, with 2 years guaranteed, I'd probably sign up for that. If you tell me we're getting a Sam Darnold for 45 million a year, and he's got 3 years guaranteed, like, no, no, I'm not even getting close to that, I'm not even close to interested in that. See, dang, I am behind. Yeah, Luke Fisher. I get that Darnold would be expensive and paid as a starter. I guess all I'm saying is I don't want to pay Darnold. There are some other options. And there are some other options. The most difficult part and really realistically the best bridge kind of scenario would be a Russell Wilson, because Russell Wilson, he's getting up there in age, man. What is he, 36? So, like, geez, Russell Wilson's like my age. And I'm 37 and I can't even imagine taking hits in the NFL, man, at my age. But I mean, really what it comes down to is Russell Wilson would be very expensive, right? But how many years is he realistically going to play in the league? And so getting some kind of bridge contract as a Russell Wilson is pretty ideal. He can win you some games. He did pretty good for the most part with the Steelers, and he could run a Chip Kelly offense very good. So I wouldn't be mad about it, but they're already coming out and saying that Russell Wilson's definitely a no-go. And so Justin Fields, while you know, he hasn't really exactly proven himself, he's gonna want a good deal. He's not gonna want a bridge deal, right? And you get somebody that young to be a bridge quarterback, you need it to be somebody that can actually mentor, right? Because Justin Fields he's still learning too. So there's a lot of issues with that. And then Geno Smith, I don't like the idea of a Geno Smith personally. Um yeah, I don't really see it. AD and AZ, I'm getting tired of all this quarterback talk constantly every day. That's all you hear about. The Raiders, I want a running back, and Nick Chubb is a free agent, and I would love to take uh I think you're saying an RB at 6. It says RN at 6, but I think you meant to say RB. There we go. Yeah, I want to take a running back at 6. Um, and a lot of people are saying no, absolutely not. Don't don't take a running back at 6. The only way that I feel comfortable with taking a running back at 6 is if we put somebody in place like a Sam Darnold or, a veteran quarterback, whether it's a bridge guy or somebody you might be considering to be moving forward. right? You take Ashton Genty at 6, and then I don't think Jackson Dart's going to be available in the second round anymore. It really, really sounds like Jackson Dart's going to go in the first round. So if you commit to taking a Genty, and I love Scatterboo too, but he's not a late round. Scatterboo is going to go in the second, third at worst, right? But yeah, so you take an Ashton Genty at number 6, then you're put in a position where probably the only quarterback that you can get that's worth drafting at all after that would be Will Howard, right? And so if they really believe in Will Howard and they put in Ashton Genty, I could see that being a possibility. But there's a big risk with that, especially with somebody like Genty, who had so many touches last year. If you watch in the NFL, when you have a running back like when Josh Jacobs had that amazing year, he had 1,600 yards. The very next year, he did not complete the year. He ended up injured, right? I have feelings about Josh Jacobs' injury that year, but he ended up injured, right? And so when you have that much tread on the tires, it affects somebody's performance, right? It definitely does. And so that's what worries me about Genty, is that he had so many reps. But coming from college into the pros, it might not affect him as much. And Chris has a good point of not taking a running back at 6. There's a ton of running backs this year, and this is a very, very heavy running back class. Kind of like how last year just had a ton of quarterbacks that went in the first round. There are a ton of running backs through the first, second, and third round that are amazing. There's even good ones projected in the fourth. But really, ideally, I would like to pick up a running back maybe in the second or third, because at this point, we need a quarterback. We need a quarterback. And honestly, I would love the idea if we had an opportunity to trade back in the first, move on from pick 6, move back a couple of spots. And if we picked up Jackson Dart at that point, I wouldn't be mad, right? And I'd be feeling like they're anticipating on sitting him for a year, which would be even better. And then we moved back from that. We picked up an extra second, probably, right? If we go out there and we got like a Judkins and Trayvon Henderson, then all of a sudden our running back room is solidified, our quarterback room of the future, that looks good. And then, maybe pick up a right guard. And there's a couple of other pieces that I really want to see us pick up, man. But we'll see how this goes. Let's see, AD and AZ. I'm also not going to rush to take a no talent quarterback in the draft. With no talent quarterbacks, I'm taking a wide receiver or running back with the number 6 pick. And you're not wrong, but there's so many times, man, where okay, they're saying that this is like a no talent quarterback class, and that Cam Ward's like the only one that is maybe even like, really a true first round, top pick, right? But like last year, they said Bo Nix was a second round projection. And then when he went in the first, everybody was like, what? Denver's stupid. They're reaching. And then he went out there and he played his ass off. He had comparable numbers to Jaden Daniels. You know what I'm saying? So every year, man, the projection of quarterbacks ends up weird, right? I think Patrick Mahomes went number 10 overall. And you would think, oh, number 10 overall, that guy is like probably not even that great, right? And then look, I hate Patrick Mahomes, but he's a good quarterback. You know what I'm saying? Let's see. Try to catch up a little bit. AD and AZ, you got a good point. Some of you people don't understand that position. It's okay. Ashton Genty is the best running back in the draft. I don't care. There could be 150 running backs. He's the best. And that is true. That is true. Ashton Genty is definitely projected to be far ahead of everybody else in this class, right? Um, Rank with the follow, salute, salute. So, oh, I like that. Matt Heavy, priority, extend max, sign veteran QB, draft running back, draft O line, and defense. And like, I really wish that, like, because there was a while there where I was kind of starting to get attached to the idea of maybe doing like a Ashton Genty in the first and then Jackson Dart in the second, and like being like feeling like really excited about that. And now that Jackson Dart's gaining all this ground and it now he's being projected to go in the first round, that's off the table, right? Um, because you're right, AD and AZ. Ashton Genty is by far better than all these other running backs. But there are other running backs that they are very, very good. So if the Raiders are looking to try to secure a quarterback with that first round pick, there's still going to be other guys that we can pick up. User with follow salute. Um, Dang, there's some shit going on. There's actual shit going on. Raider Ryan saying this will be a running back by committee. Get one in free agency and the draft. See if McCormick can start where he left off before injury. I liked how sincere McCormick was playing. But something that has me wondering, because a lot of people are convinced that Zeus is going to be out the door. But Zamir White, he has a lot of potential. And a lot of what a running back's success is dependent on is the offensive scheme, the offensive line, and the quarterback play. When you have Luke Getzey calling an awful offense with Gardner Minshew at quarterback, Gardner Minshew, they would just stack the box the same way they did against Jimmy G. And they were like, okay, let's make Gardner Minshew beat us with his arm. And of course, Gardner Minshew's not going to beat you with his arm. And so then the running game just got totally swallowed up. And Zamir White never really stood a chance, right? I don't really, I never really was a fan of Zamir White, but I wouldn't count him out. I would not count him out just yet. But yeah, I mean, realistically, we probably just need to bring in one running back. But, when I say bringing in that pair of Ohio State running backs, especially if both of them are in the third round, I'd be all about it. I definitely would. But, if they pick up just one running back, whether it's a Genty, a Scadaboo, a Henderson, Judkins, whoever it may be, Sincere McCormick's still there, Dylan Lowby's still there, Amir Abdullah is still there. So there's a lot of things like that. Max likes Najee, but he's a mediocre run. I like Najee Harris too. My wife's a Steelers fan, so I've seen some stuff. I've seen a couple of the games where Najee Harris looks good, but I don't really want to. He's going to get paid, and I'd rather have somebody on a rookie deal, honestly. Raider Ryan Genty's only 5'9". Yeah, he is a shorter running back, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. Sometimes it's good for running backs to be a little bit smaller. They're a little bit harder to see over the line, and then they have they can get low, get good leverage, things like that. But yeah, I mean, what it comes down to is if we don't have a good quarterback, then picking up any running back with a first round pick just it gets in a weird spot. It gets in a very weird spot. I've watched a lot of tape on Genty though. The dude is a beast. Let me see. Chris for Raiders. Darnold has one good year. only because the starting quarterback got hurt. Now he is the highest QB everyone wants. Why? Because he threw for 4,300 yards, 35 touchdowns, 12 interceptions, and won 14 games. So if you take Sam Darnold's name out of the equation, right? And if you just looked at, like, okay, there's a free agent quarterback that threw for 35 touchdowns, 4,300 yards, and won 14 games, and the Raiders are targeting him, it'd be like, bro, yes, we need that, And then you say, and it's Sam Darnold, and then everybody goes, ooh, no, no, not Sam Darnold, right? And I'm skeptical as well, right? I'm not going to say that I'm completely convinced, but if you take the name off of it, it looks very inviting. And who's to say that he won't continue that, right? He's what, 28, 29 years old. He's still in his prime. Quarterbacks, like, that's when they really hit their prime. It's not like, running backs and edge rushers. If you say, oh, yeah, the dude's almost 30, you're going to be like, oh, I don't know, man. I don't know if we want to do that, right? But with a quarterback, they play well up towards, 35, 40. So he's got a lot left in the tank. And that's why I like the idea of him being a kind of that bridge that can possibly earn the number one spot. Donald gets to the playoffs and plays like a high schooler. Really, what it was is he got exposed, right? And really, Kevin O'Connell got exposed because they had him throwing the ball way too much. They put him in kind of a bad position. And I noticed this trend, right? There was a trend, Joshua, with the follow salute. There's this trend that happened when at the beginning of the playoffs, right? In those last couple games of the season, but really the wild card games, is that the teams that just put the most pressure on the quarterback won every single time. They won down the line. And every time, every game that I watched, you would just see like blitz, 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 and they put all this pressure, and that team would win. I'm like, that's interesting. Mo with the follow salute. Grim, how much money will he want is the question. And that's the big one, right? That we were just talking about. If it's under 40 million, grab him, right? If it's only 2 years guaranteed. If it's over 40 million, kick rocks, straight up. And a lot of people were spinning out this last week about Myles Garrett, right? Because Myles Garrett's requesting a trade. And a lot of people were like, yeah, bring him, pair him up with Max, right? And I would move on from our number 6 pick to get Myles Garrett. I would. Because if you're able to put that much pressure on opposing quarterbacks with a Myles Garrett, Christian Wilkins, Adam Butler, Max Crosby, and some money could be moved around, right? You could decide we're not going to pick up Malcolm Kuntz. We're not going to pick up Nate Hobbs because he's too injury prone, and we're going to start Eichenberg instead of Diablo, right? Get rid of Diablo's money. And you do some of those moves and it could work, right? I don't think that he's going to want to come to the Raiders. I think the only way that he would even consider coming to the Raiders is if we had a quarterback in place, because he said that he wanted to leave from the Browns because he wants to compete for a Super Bowl. And it'd be hard for anybody to believe that we're going to be competing for a Super Bowl in the next 2 years. Would I like that? Do I think it's possible? Yes. If I were somebody who's betting the last couple of years of my career on it, no. If you put a gun to my head and said, you got to either choose that the Raiders will or will not go to the Super Bowl in the next 2 years, I would say no. And that's just what it is. Do I believe it's possible? Yes. Let me see. Anthony, what's good, bro? Damn, I'm behind, dude. I'm trying to catch up. And James Firpo always with the Raiders. Let's go, man. Jeremy Santos with the follow salute. Let me see. Eli W. RJ Harvey over Genty. Versatility and explosive. RJ Harvey. You know, at the risk of sounding like an idiot, I've not even heard the dude's name, bro. UCF? RJ Harvey, 5'8", 207 pounds. He's playing in the Senior Bowl. He had 1,500 rushing yards, 232 attempts, average 6.8, 22 touchdowns, 267 receiving yards. Interesting. Okay. Where's he projected at? Eli? Yeah, Raider Ryan. Buckeye Pipeline will be a thing this year and possibly next. I definitely see that. Dang, I just realized how far behind I am, bro. This is an old comment already. Sheesh. Eli W. Until Raiders O line proves they can protect the pocket passer, I don't want a pocket passer taking snaps. So there's a couple of things to that because our offensive line did continue to progress throughout the year. They got better and better. Really, Jackson Powers Johnson needs to be at center, and that's more money that we can move on from is Andre James. I do not want to see Andre James suiting up for the Raiders ever again. I don't. I do not like Andre James. He is a liability. He gets beat consistently, and he makes the guards around him look worse. So when you have Jackson Powers Johnson in at center, Jordan Meredith was doing great at left guard. Colton Miller, I was saying to move on from him as he healed from his shoulder. He started getting better throughout the year. So towards the end, he was doing great. And then you have Dylan Parham and DJ Glaze on the right side. Dylan Parham is starting to look kind of like a liability, but I'm not really sure how much of that you could blame on scheme, how much of that you could blame on when he has to be next to Andre James, he's having to compensate. And so he ends up getting beat and looking bad because Andre James is messing up. And then DJ Glaze, so if we picked up anybody O-line, I'd want it to either be a right tackle or a right guard, because if you can put DJ Glaze as your backup right tackle, cool, man. Always willing to upgrade at any position. Let's see. Gunsmoke in the building. Salute. So, yeah, man. I mean, when we look at the rookies, man, I don't think that I don't know, man. It's so hard to tell at this point, because there was so much hype about Shedeur Sanders to the Raiders, and then once we moved on from AP and went with Pete Carroll, all that died out. And now people are saying that Sanders is going to fall in the first. And to be completely honest with you, like if we picked up Shedeur Sanders at number 6, super happy. Super happy. But I don't know that that's going to happen. I'm still taking a stance where I don't want to trade up for him. I really don't. You see Everett, move Parham to backup JPJ. Meredith works, and instead of Trey Smith for $20 million a year, sign Aaron Banks from the 49ers, $9.5 million. So Aaron Banks, is he going to be a free agent this year, Everett? Because I haven't really heard his name get brought up, man. Oh man, Chris, RJ Harvey sounds like a dirty politician. Kind of, man. Oh shit. That's hilarious, man. Yeah, I mean, this roster, we definitely have some holes, right? And so I don't want to see us trading up for a quarterback. Um, and the only way I see us doing that is that, like, honestly, would be for Shedeur Sanders because I highly doubt that we would trade up for Cam Ward. I do. Do I think Cam Ward is probably better? Probably, right? And the only way I see us actually trading up for like Shedeur Sanders is if he gets projected to go in the top 3 and Tom Brady has been working with this dude in the offseason. And if he is so convinced that Shedeur Sanders is that guy, he will make that push to make that happen. So if that's the case, I'll trust the process, right? But really what I'd like to see us do is best player available. Best player available, and let's put this thing together. And that's why I start looking at like players like Sam Darnold, right? And I start really thinking about like, is this something that would be ideal in a Chip Kelly offense, right? And with all the RPOs, I think Sam Darnold could pull that off, man. I really do. I really do. Oh man. So we're coming up on an hour, you guys. It's Saturday. I'm excited to go spend some time with my kid, man. So, like always, Nation, I love you guys, man. I'll be on soon, man. I'm gonna get more consistent with the lives again, man. You know, I had to take a couple of days off, all that stuff. But IERBC with the follow salute. So you guys keep an eye out for me, man. I'm not putting out of the realm of possibility that you'll see me live in the next couple of days. But if nothing else, man, I should be here for Talk About Raiders Tuesday. Like always, I love you, Nation. I'll catch you on the next one.